My loving audience, take my love and subscribes my channel. What if Bill's decision to give Naomi more control at the law firm ends up pushing Tomas right back toward Eva? And what if Tomas isn't going to Eva because he has suddenly figured out what he wants, but because everything around him is starting to fall apart? That is the part of this story that really has me wondering. Because on the surface, Bill's decision sounds pretty simple. Bill has been dealing with health problems, and the law firm still needs someone to keep things moving. Naomi is trusted. She knows the family. She knows the business. So Bill asking her to take on more responsibility makes sense. But Tomas is probably not going to see it that way. To him, this could feel like a warning. A warning that his position at the firm is not as secure as he thought. And that could hit him much harder than Naomi probably realizes. We have already seen Tomas get uncomfortable with Naomi's involvement at the firm. He has questioned why she is there and what her real intentions are. Naomi has tried to make it clear that she is not trying to take his job, but Tomas still seems uneasy. So now imagine how he feels when Bill gives Naomi even more authority. Think about it. Tomas has worked hard to prove himself. He wants Bill's respect. He wants to be taken seriously. He wants people to look at him and see a successful attorney who belongs in that room. Then Naomi walks in and gets a huge vote of confidence from Bill. Even if Bill means nothing personal by it, Tomas could easily take it personally. And that is where his biggest problem starts. Tomas wants control. He wants to feel secure. But deep down, I think he is also scared of losing his place. There's a big difference between wanting to succeed and being terrified of being replaced. And Tomas may be somewhere in the middle right now. The funny thing is, Naomi may not even be his real enemy. She could simply be the person who exposes his insecurity. Because if Tomas were completely confident in himself, would Naomi's new role bother him this much? Probably not. That is why I think this storyline is about much more than a law firm. It is about Tomas feeling like his world is changing without his permission. Bill is making decisions. Naomi is gaining power. Kat is still part of Tomas's complicated personal life. And then there is Eva. That is a lot for one person to handle. And when people feel trapped, they often go looking for the person who makes them feel safe. For Tomas, that person may be Eva. Now, let's be clear about something. Tomas and Eva already have history. This is not some random woman suddenly appearing in his life. There are feelings there. There is attraction. There are unresolved issues. And the show has already established that Tomas and Eva crossed a line before, even while Tomas was involved with Kat. That history matters. A lot. Because when Tomas gets frustrated, he already knows what it feels like to turn toward Eva. He knows she understands him in a different way. He knows there's chemistry between them. And that makes her very tempting when everything else starts becoming difficult. But here's the question I keep coming back to. Is Tomas going to Eva because he truly wants Eva? Or is he going to Eva because he wants an escape? Those are two very different things. And Eva needs to be careful. Because if Tomas comes back into her life only because he is frustrated with Naomi, stressed about the law firm, or having problems with Kat, then Eva could end up becoming his emotional escape route. And she deserves better than that. I actually think Eva should make Tomas explain himself. No guessing. No mixed signals. No, I just needed someone to talk to. No excuses. If he wants her, say it. If he is confused, admit it. If he still wants Kat, then leave Eva alone. That might sound harsh, but honestly, I think Eva has every right to protect herself. She has already been through enough emotional confusion. Recent storylines have also shown Eva dealing with her own struggles, including the aftermath of her surgery and figuring out what comes next for her. So why should she suddenly drop everything because Tomas is having a bad week? She shouldn't. And that is why I would love to see Eva handle this differently this time. Instead of chasing Tomas, let him chase her. Instead of trying to prove she is better than Kat, let Tomas make his own choice. Instead of becoming the woman who fixes all his problems, let him solve some problems himself. Because there is a huge difference between being someone's partner and being someone's emotional rescue plan. And Tomas may not understand that yet. Psychologically, I think Tomas is dealing with something deeper than jealousy. He wants to feel important. He wants to feel chosen. He wants to know that Bill sees his value. And when Naomi receives that kind of trust, Tomas may hear something completely different. He may hear, "You are not enough." But Bill may never have said that. Naomi may never have said that. That thought could be coming entirely from Tomas. And that is what makes insecurity so dangerous. Sometimes the biggest fight is not with the person standing across from you. It is with the voice inside your own head. Tomas could look at Naomi and think she is taking something away from him when she may simply be doing her job. That could lead him to become defensive. Then Naomi notices his attitude. She pushes back. Tomas gets even more frustrated. And suddenly a professional disagreement becomes personal. Now add Eva to that situation. Suddenly Tomas has somewhere to go when things get uncomfortable. And that is where the trouble really begins. Because if Tomas starts talking to Eva about his problems at the firm, he could start sharing things he should probably be discussing with Bill or handling himself. Then the conversations become more personal. Then more frequent. And before anyone realizes what is happening, the old feelings are back. That is how emotional affairs often begin. Not with some huge romantic declaration. It starts with one person saying, "You understand me." Then another conversation. Then another. And suddenly, the person who was supposed to be a friend becomes the person you are thinking about all day. That is what I would watch for with Tomas and Eva. Not necessarily a dramatic kiss right away. Watch the conversations. Watch the looks. Watch the secrets. Watch who Tomas goes to when he is upset. Because those little moments can tell us much more than a big romantic scene. And Kat is going to matter here. A lot. Kat already knows Eva is a sensitive subject. She knows Tomas has a history with her. She knows things became complicated before. So if Tomas starts acting differently, Kat may notice. Maybe she will not know exactly what is happening. But she may feel that something is wrong. And once that feeling starts, it can become very difficult to stop. Think about how relationships work. If one person becomes distant, the other person starts asking questions. If the first person gets defensive, the second person becomes more suspicious. Then more questions come. Then more defensiveness. And suddenly, the relationship is stuck in a cycle. That could easily happen with Kat and Tomas. Especially if Tomas is hiding something. And if Eva is involved, Kat may not give him much room for excuses. That is why Tomas could end up making the same mistake again. He may think he can keep his professional problems separate from his personal life. He may think he can talk to Eva without it meaning anything. He may even convince himself that he is only trying to get advice. But feelings do not always follow the rules we make for them. And that is Tomas's biggest weakness. He keeps trying to control situations that are really emotional. But emotions do not stay under control forever. Now let's talk about Bill. Because Bill may think he is doing something completely reasonable. He needs help. The firm needs stability. Naomi is capable. So why not trust her? From a business point of view, that makes sense. But Bill may not realize what his decision does to Tomas. He may not understand how much Tomas wants his approval. He may not realize that giving Naomi more power could make Tomas feel pushed aside. And that could create a much bigger problem than Bill expects. The law firm could become the place where every personal issue starts showing up. Tomas versus Naomi. Tomas versus Kat. Tomas versus Eva. And maybe, eventually, Tomas versus Bill. That is a lot of tension for one office. And honestly, I think that is what makes this storyline so interesting. One business decision can trigger several emotional disasters. That is classic soap opera territory. Bill thinks he is protecting the firm. Instead, he may be opening the door to a whole new fight. And Naomi could become the center of it without even trying. We have already seen Naomi take matters seriously when she thinks something is wrong. She has shown that she is willing to investigate and push for answers instead of simply sitting back. So if Naomi starts noticing strange behavior from Tomas, I would not expect her to ignore it. She may watch him. She may ask questions. And she may eventually confront him. Imagine that scene. Naomi tells Tomas she knows something is bothering him. Tomas says everything is fine. Naomi does not believe him. He gets defensive. She pushes harder. And suddenly the entire issue with the firm comes out. That could be explosive. Because Tomas cannot afford to make Naomi his enemy. She has Bill's trust. She has family connections. And now she may have even more authority. If Tomas loses his temper with her, he could make himself look exactly like the insecure person she suspects he is. And that could hurt his career. This is why I think Tomas needs to be very careful. He has a chance to prove himself. Instead of fighting Naomi, he could work with her. Instead of seeing her as a threat, he could learn from her. Instead of constantly wondering whether Bill prefers her, he could focus on showing Bill what he can do. That would be real growth. But will Tomas choose that path? I am not sure. Because when someone feels threatened, maturity is not always the first thing that comes out. Sometimes pride comes first. And Tomas has plenty of pride. That is why Eva could become so important. Eva gives him something the law firm cannot. Emotional validation. She can listen. She can understand. She can make him feel wanted. And when Tomas feels like Naomi is taking away his professional importance, Eva may make him feel important again. That is powerful. But it is also dangerous. Because if Tomas starts depending on Eva to feel better about himself, the relationship becomes unhealthy. Eva cannot fix his insecurity. She cannot make Naomi disappear. She cannot change Bill's decision. And she cannot build Tomas's confidence for him. He has to do that himself. That is why I think Eva should push back. Maybe Tomas comes to her. Maybe he talks about the law firm. Maybe he tells her he feels like Bill does not trust him anymore. And Eva listens. But then she asks him a simple question. What do you actually want? That question could stop him cold. Because Tomas may not have an answer. Maybe he wants Bill's approval. Maybe he wants to keep Kat. Maybe he wants Eva. Maybe he wants all three things at once. And that is impossible. At some point, Tomas has to choose. The August 27th preview specifically points toward Tomas leaning on Eva, while Bill is also set to have a proposition for Naomi. That combination makes the timing especially interesting. Bill gives Naomi more responsibility. Tomas feels pressure. Then Tomas turns to Eva. That does not feel like a coincidence. It feels like the beginning of a chain reaction. And I have a feeling the chain reaction will not stop with Tomas and Eva. Kat could get pulled in. Naomi could get pulled in. Bill could eventually get pulled in. And the whole law firm could become part of the mess. But there is something else I want to see. I want to see Eva ask herself whether she even wants Tomas back. That question is important. Because we keep talking about what Tomas wants. What about Eva? What does she want? Does she really want a relationship with Tomas? Does she trust him? Can she forgive what happened before? And if she cannot, why should she let him back into her life? Sometimes soap operas focus so much on who ends up with whom that we forget the characters should actually have standards. Eva should have standards. If Tomas comes back, he should have to earn his way back. Not with promises. Not with jealousy. With actions. That would make the storyline much more satisfying. And it would give Eva real power. She does not need to compete with Kat. She does not need to convince Tomas that she is the better woman. She can simply say, if you want me, prove it. Now that would change the whole dynamic. Because Tomas is used to having complicated choices. But if Eva stops making herself available whenever he needs comfort, he may finally have to face the consequences of his behavior. And that could force him to grow up. There's also a bigger question about Tomas's career. What does he really want? Does he want to become one of the most respected lawyers at the firm? Does he want Bill to treat him like an equal? Does he want power? Or is he mainly afraid of losing what he already has? Those questions matter because ambition can come from two very different places. One person says, I want to build something. Another person says, I cannot let anyone take this away from me. Tomas may be drifting toward the second mindset. And if he does, Naomi will probably become even more frustrating to him. Every success she has could feel like a personal defeat. Every compliment Bill gives her could feel like an insult to him. That is not healthy. And eventually, something has to give. Maybe that is the real reason Tomas turns toward Eva. Not because Eva suddenly becomes the love of his life again. But because he needs somewhere to put all the emotions he does not know how to handle. That is why I would be careful about calling this a romantic reunion. It could be something much messier. It could be Tomas running away from one problem and straight into another. And if that happens, Eva could end up getting hurt all over again. I also think Kat deserves honesty. If Tomas is having feelings for Eva again, Kat needs to know. She should not have to discover it by accident. Because once secrets enter a relationship, trust becomes harder to rebuild. And Tomas already has a complicated history with Kat and Eva. His past with Eva has already created problems in his relationship with Kat. So if he repeats the same pattern, Kat may decide that enough is enough. And honestly, I would understand that. How many times can someone be asked to forgive the same mistake? At some point, forgiveness without change just becomes permission. That is why Tomas needs to make a real decision this time. Not a temporary decision. Not a decision based on anger. A real one. And that brings us back to Naomi. I don't think Naomi needs to be the villain here. In fact, I think making Naomi and Tomas enemies would be too easy. It would be much more interesting if both of them had valid reasons for feeling the way they do. Naomi believes she can help. Tomas believes his position is being threatened. Naomi believes Bill trusts her. Tomas wonders why Bill does not trust him the same way. Both sides can feel justified. And that creates better drama. Because then the conflict is not simply good versus bad. It is pride versus insecurity. Ambition versus fear. Trust versus suspicion. And right in the middle of all of it is Bill. Bill may have no idea how much damage one decision can cause. He may simply want the firm to survive. But if Tomas starts acting out because of it, Bill may eventually have to step in. And when Bill does, Tomas may finally hear something he has been avoiding. He cannot control everything. He cannot control Naomi. He cannot control Eva. He cannot control Kat. And he certainly cannot control Bill. The only thing Tomas can control is his own behavior. That may be the biggest lesson coming out of this story. Now, what happens next? My prediction is that Tomas will slowly move closer to Eva. I don't think it will happen all at once. It may begin with a conversation. Then another. Maybe he tells her things he does not tell Kat. Maybe he starts depending on her emotionally. And Eva may initially welcome the connection because she still has feelings for him. But eventually, she will start asking questions. And I think that is when things get serious. Because Eva may realize that Tomas is coming to her when he is unhappy, not necessarily when he is ready to commit. So now I want to know what you think. Do you believe Tomas is genuinely falling for Eva again, or is he simply turning to her because Naomi's growing power at the law firm has him feeling trapped? Do you think Bill is making the right choice by giving Naomi more responsibility? Or is he accidentally creating a huge problem for Tomas, Kat, Eva, and the entire firm? And what about Kat? If Tomas starts leaning on Eva again, should Kat forgive him, or should she finally walk away? For me, the biggest question is not even whether Tomas and Eva get together. It is whether Tomas can finally stop running from his problems. Because if he cannot, Eva will not save him. Kat will not save him. Bill will not save him. And the law firm certainly will not save him. Tomas has to deal with Tomas. That is the real story here. Bill's decision may have opened the door. Naomi may have stepped through it. Tomas may feel threatened. Eva may become his escape. But sooner or later, Tomas has to decide what kind of man he wants to be. And I have a feeling that decision is going to cost him something. Maybe his relationship. Maybe his career. Maybe his chance with Eva. Or maybe, for the first time, Tomas will make the right choice and prove that he is ready for the life he keeps saying he wants. Either way, I don't think this is going to stay quiet for long. So tell me your theory in the comments. Is Tomas really going back to Eva because he still loves her? Or is Eva simply the person he runs to whenever his life gets too difficult? And if you were Eva, would you give Tomas another chance? Let me know, because I really want to hear where you stand on this one. If you enjoyed this Beyond the Gates spoiler breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Because with Bill making moves, Naomi gaining more control, Tomas turning toward Eva, and Kat potentially getting pulled into the middle, this situation could get a whole lot messier. And trust me, the next move may change everything.